With the lander built and textured, we're now going to assemble it, and then we'll start to animate the rotation of the propeller that will go on top. I'll start by selecting the leg. I'm going to move the pivot to the edge of the leg where it will attach to the body, holding D down on the keyboard. I'll make sure that I'm in my orthographic views to make sure it is at the beginning of where the arm will attach to the actual body. With my rotation tool, I'm going to rotate it on the z-axis, and then I'm going to go to the orthographic view to kind of fine-tune this so that it's level with the grid. I'll move it down to the x-axis, and I'll select the body. I'll move that up and over towards the leg. So we're getting the first leg into position, then we'll get the others taken care of. Going to my top view, I'll line it up so it's kind of tucked in the corner there. If I was hitting 5 on the keyboard, you can see now, this is kind of like what we're looking at the moment. I'll delete the history, freeze the transforms, and then I'm going to go to my channel box, and I'm going to rotate it in the y-axis minus 45. Once again, I'm going to freeze the transforms and delete the history. And I'll hit Command D on the keyboard. And now I'm going to go to rotate Y. And in this instance, I will put in 90 degrees. And I'll drag that over to the other corner. So if I was to go to my perspective view now, I've got two legs exactly where I want them. I'll shift select both. Hit Command G to group it, centering the pivot. I'll go to my top view. I'm going to hold down D, and I'll just drag the vertices for this right about here in the middle. I'll hit Command D, and now I'll rotate that duplicate group 180, and I'll save. So we should have something like this at this point. Now I'm going to select the multiple cylinder configuration, and I'll start to use my orthographic views to get that into position. I would like this smaller cylinder to be at the top. So I'll delete the history, freeze the transforms, and I'll rotate it on the XZ axis 180. Now we need to put the propeller on. Going to the propeller shape, I will hold down D and V, and I'll snap that to the base. Going to an orthographic view, hitting F, I'll adjust it by holding D, and I'll just put it more in that position. And I need to rotate that 90 degrees on the x-axis. Selecting the x-axis, I'll make it 90. Now I'll go to my top view first. And in my top view, I'll take this and put it near the cylinder shape. Hitting F on the keyboard, I'll place it at the center with the pivot to the cylinders below. Now in an orthographic view, I'll make sure that the propeller is at the height I want. And I should be looking at something like that. I'll delete the history and freeze the transforms. Now we have to have 3 others, so there are 4 of them all together. I'll go to my top view to do this. Freezing the transforms, I'll hit Command D on the keyboard. I'll rotate the duplicate 180 on the Y. Now I'll shift select both, hitting Command G, centering the pivot, Command D to duplicate, and then I'll rotate it minus 90 on the Y-axis. I'll go to my perspective view. We should see something like this. Now I'm going to combine the propeller props and the little arm that they are on by marquee selecting them. And then I'll go to Mesh, and I'll choose Combine. I'll go to the top view, and I'll hit W on the keyboard. I'm going to zoom in right in the center, and I'm going to move the pivot so that it's in the middle of the cylinder that it's mounted to. Now we'll select the legs and the body, and we'll go to Mesh Combine. Delete the history, center the pivot, freeze the transforms. Now we have to put the arm on the body. I'll select the upper part of the arm, and I'll just tuck the lower part into it. I'll shift select them and hit Command G to group. Centering the pivot, I'll go to my orthographic view, and I'm going to move the pivot, holding the D, to the end of the piece that's going to be tucked inside the body. Once I've done that, I'll start to position it. Now this arm's going to articulate at the elbow. So I'll start by rotating it, giving it a bit of an angle. Then I'll select the upper arm. And I need to move the pivot down to the bottom of that cylinder so that when I rotate it down, now it's just for position, it stays inside that little elbow sphere. So I'll go to my side view and hitting W, I'll hold down D and I'll click and drag the pivot down. I'll hit 4 on the keyboard so I can see this a little bit better. Zooming in, I'll put that right there. And if I was to get my rotation tool by hitting E, I can now rotate that down. This is a position we'll probably start with when we actually animate it. And we should have something like this.